What's going on, world? I'm your girl, Marysweetness, aka Sweetness. StaxRadio, we cater to make sure you throw back indie artists, and it pays to be a listener. And if you're bringing to our channel, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. But before we get started, I bless everyone, including myself, for the never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. Today is Throwback Thursday. We're celebrating all things the females of hip hop, the underrated queens of hip hop themselves, Salt and Pepper, Sandra, and Cheryl. Yes, the original duo came out in the early to mid 80s, doing their thing. I believe it was around 84, 85 when they first came out. Salt and Pepper was a dynamic duo. They first came on the scene belting out the hit classic "Push It Real Good." I still like that song. As Thomas says, that song is, we still like it to this day. The girls were friends offline, meeting in, I do believe, a call center. And word in the curb is like Harry Lovebug, if I pronounce the name incorrectly, used to date Salt from Salt and Pepper, who's Cheryl's, and used to date Cheryl, and Sandy, of course, Pepper were friends, and they wanted to come out with a group. So I believe Herbie Lovebug wrote a slew of songs for the girls because they were artists at the time, but they had to, of course, develop their craft and things of that nature. So Push It was a massive success, a hit in multiple countries, selling out in a whole slew of countries, and of course worldwide. Now, Salt and Pepper definitely is the blueprint. I remember them as a kid. I was a little girl, but I do remember the name ringing bells. And of course, one of my favorite songs that I can remember is "Express Yourself" as a kid. And of course, I think that was the album it came from, Black Magic. And it was one of those albums where you had two beautiful women doing their thing, and of course their DJ Spinderella, and their album before that, shortly after, I believe, was called "Very Necessary," which sold 1 million sold worldwide. 7 million sold worldwide. And I do believe that Salt and Pepper, they could have been, of course, doing their duels, but at the time they had split, and since have come back together. Word in the curb is that Salt said that she didn't want to do it anymore because she wanted to go into possibly ministry. And she did not give the record label or, of course, Pepper a heads up. She just said, basically, I don't want to be the joint of your hip. But the dynamic duo have since reunited, doing, of course, shows. I do believe just currently they did something at the Coliseum. It was a back in day show with New Kids on the Block. That was a vibe. I'm from Long Island, so shout out to Salt and Pepper for coming to my town and representing. So they have gone back together, and they do it for the fans, as they should. So Salt and Pepper has recently dropped a documentary. It was on the Lifetime. It was a documentary where they had talked about, of course, their story of when they came up, and of course when they, came together as a group, and of course the breakup. And they explain when they come back together and they join forces because two heads are better than one. Word in the curve is that their daughters played them in the actual documents. So make sure you guys check out, if you didn't see it and you missed it, make sure you check out the Lifetime documentary of Salt and Pepper. Now, when I say underrated Salt and Pepper, I do believe that as much as hits that they made and the influences that they carried out, like if you guys don't know, Kid and Play were supposed to be the female version of Salt and Pepper. They were inspirational to a lot of people. Kid and Play got the cartoons and the dolls and things of that nature. I believe Salt and Pepper, they didn't get those things. There was other ventures out on the table. I don't really understand why they didn't get notoriety for a lot of things that they did in the hip hop community as a duo, because they opened the door for so many women of empowerment. Of course, they talked messages in their music, like let's talk about sex, and then the campaign, let's talk about AIDS, etc. And of course, they talked about things like gun violence, and of course, What a Man, fun songs like that, making hits with In Vogue, etc. And of course, venturing out into other projects, but also coming together collectively as the dynamic duo. Now, word in the curve is that Salt and Pepper is still on tour to this day. belting out, their classic hits. And of course, they're no stranger to showing them how it's really done. Now, when I say they're underrated, I do believe that a lot of people sleep on Salt and Pepper as one of the founding four female femcs of a generation. You know what I mean? Their beauty, their style, their charisma, their courageousness, and of course, their bold lyrics. So I just want to say thank you to Salt and Pepper for opening the door to girls like me and the rap girls alike. Now, if I missed anything that was important, all things Salt and Pepper, we want you to put in the comments. Well, anyway, I'm your girl, Marysweetness, aka Sweetness. StaxRadio, we cater to mainstream throwback indie artists, and it pays to be a listener. Remember that the best is yet to come, and if I can leave some encouraging words, spread love because you can. Make sure you guys continue to follow us on www.facebook.com/Marysweetness77 on our Sex Radio group, and Instagram, Miss Albeedeeoent. And of course, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell a friend about our stationhead.live/Marysweetness show. If you are an independent artist, you get your music you get your music streamed on our iTunes and Spotify show. And of course, as a loyal listener, you qualify for our cashback, which is coming back in January. You'll just have to wait for our clues to see exactly how you qualify. Well, anyway, I'm done with this. Remember that the best is yet to come. If I can leave some encouraging words, spread love because you can. I love y'all for watching. Peace. See you in the show.